20 hours laboring naturally. 17 of those hours laboring were after the cytotech had been placed. And during this time, a lot of things happened. So I had, this bag prepped and packed and ready for a natural childbirth. Okay. So that meant, this is going to be intense, and I know it's going to be intense, and I want a lot of comfort measures for me, right? Natural comfort measures. So during this time, this laboring marathon for me, my doula set up her essential oil diffuser that she did bring. I had forgotten to bring my essential oil, so I actually texted her before she left out, and she brought lavender for me and orange. And so I had lavender and orange diffusing for a while. At some point we turned it off. And then I had a washcloth that we put some drops of grapefruit essential oil on. I had my doula hang up my affirmation cards so I could see them while lying in different positions. So there was one kind of in the back of my bed when I was on my hands and knees, one on like the IV kind of bar, and all over. I tried to set up my salt lamp. I actually felt really silly for bringing it to the hospital, but I just left, what was in my labor bag in there. We tried to set it up, but I did not make sure that it worked. So I had actually used my salt lamp so much prior to packing it that the bulb burnt out. Womp womp. So I wasn't able to use my salt lamp, but I definitely would have if it had been working. I had tons of water. Just like through pregnancy, I was a camel and I could not drink enough water. I had tons of water throughout my laboring experience, especially like earlier on and like through kind of like when it started becoming the active labor phase. I just had tons of water. I also asked my doula to bring me red raspberry tea that can be really helpful to drink both during pregnancy and during your labor. I also had a lot of snacks, but in the last 4 to 5 hours of that natural laboring period, I really wasn't wanting food. I didn't want solid foods. I remember scarfing down. My doula brought me a dragon fruit, the yellow ones with the white center. It was so good, and I just smashed that. It was so good. But the last 4 to 5 hours of the laboring, I really didn't want any snacks at all. I was still good about drinking my water and tea. I was really trying to make sure like after every contraction I'd have water or something. The contractions were so intense the last 7 hours. Man, it was so wild. I would have like 3 contractions back to back with maybe a 20-second to 30-second resting period within the 3 contractions, okay? And like, it was just so intense. It was, that 20 second and towards the end, the 20 and 30 seconds that I even got of rest, like I would just kind of go limp and I would just lay there like quiet in a meditative state. I remember kind of like talking to my mom who is, who did transition a couple years ago. So it was literally like I had my mom's picture up and just like, I just felt her saying like, you got this, baby, keep going, It was really beautiful. I felt very powerful, but man, it was exhausting and it was painful. And I just tried to get through it. Those 20 to 30 seconds of rest that I started to have weren't even like the pain was like down to 0, because one of the motivating affirmations I had was that I can do anything for 60 to 90 seconds. I can do anything for 60 to 90 seconds. So as much as the pain was, I was able to get through it if it was only 60 to 90 seconds and then going back down. At one point, so the pain was up to like a 9, maybe a 9.3, 9.5, right? At 1 to 10. those 20 to 30 seconds ended up going down to the pain being maybe like a 4 or 5. It wasn't even like full relief. It was so intense. I took about 4 showers between 1 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is where the intermittent monitoring really helped, because when I was off of those monitors, I was able to be in the shower for like 30-40 minutes, and I utilized that time so much. Like, I stayed in the shower as long as I could. My fiance actually stood in the bathroom with me just to make sure I was okay and safe, because it was hot and steamy, you know. And there was a shower chair in the shower, so that helped. Sometimes I'd sit up, sometimes I'd stand up, but the water, it just helped me get through those contractions so much so that some of the lighter contractions I was having, I didn't feel, it wasn't super intense. It was like I was actually able to make it through. Some of the more difficult contractions, I was definitely moaning through them, but the water just made it so much better. Like, water therapy was like, oh, thank God for the showers. So I highly suggest, if you are doing a natural birth in the hospital, you have a shower, utilize that as part of your comfort measures. Like, it was so good. So yeah, from 1 a.m. to 12 p.m. the next day, because we went into December 31st here, 12 p.m. the next day, I did do about 4 showers, and they were extremely helpful every time and just rejuvenating. The most difficult time of the showers was getting out of the shower and transitioning back into the room, because like, if I was just standing straight up, or like, it was just so painful. Now laying down on your back was definitely also not the way to go. Like, I couldn't do that. And although I just wanted to rest and relax on my back, I couldn't. Like, I had to either do a side laying or be on my hands and knees, something to help the contractions move through, because when I was like laying down just regular, it was so much more painful. The other thing about induction is that your contractions can also be more intense than if you are laboring naturally. So I think I didn't do this until maybe even weeks later, but I give myself credit for going natural as long as I did, having been induced, because that is no easy feat. It is not like, a natural birth in that way that these contractions are kind of synthetically produced, So, child, it was a lot. So my partner, Eric, did tons of counter pressure. Like, in the last 7 hours of the laboring, I could not go through a contraction literally without doing like counter pressure. So I would just like yelp and scream, like not scream, but yelp in, like, when a contraction started coming back on, and be like, pressure, pressure, pressure. And so he was doing work. Let me tell you, he was up on his feet. He was pushing in on like the back, my back hips. He was just doing so much work to help, move me along. And my contractions were coming so consistently. So every minute there was a contraction, that he was just doing so much work. And so it was really a beautiful team building exercise. He actually said that to me after the fact, which I was able to reflect on, because had he said it during the fact, I'd just be like, I was just in the zone, okay? I was not there. I was in the zone. It was basically like my doula had explained, that I would be in like a trance when I was in active labor, and I surely was. I was not holding conversations. I was not able to pay attention to anything else, really. I would nod maybe at some nurses when they asked me certain things or whatever, but I was really just in the mode. And I would, once again, like, I would just fall kind of limp and just like really actively take my rest during the 30-second rest period that I would get, or if I'd get like maybe a full like minute of rest after a contraction. I utilized all that to just like close my eyes. I swear I would take 30-second naps. It was bizarre. It was an experience, that it's wild, like giving birth to a human. I used basically like everything in my bag that I had brought for comfort and support. I used my squeeze ball, the little squeeze ball that I showed in my labor and delivery bag video. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out after this. I had Eric take out my mom's picture. I had a picture of me and my mom up. I think I mentioned that. And, you know, it was just so good seeing her face, and I knew that she was there with me, even though she couldn't be physically with me. And that was very important to me, that my mom was part of this experience. And talking to her and prayer really got me through some of like the thick of those contractions. Over those hours, I dilated so well on my own. I did so much. I was so proud of myself. I got to 7 centimeters naturally. I did that naturally, and I was so proud of myself. And I was, you know, I was so excited about having a natural birth. But there was a point in, like, I want to say like maybe hour 15 after the cytotech where I was just like, I can't do this. Like, you know, and my doula was just like, you can do this. You can do this. Like, and I don't know, I think I was looking to her at some point for validation that it was okay to get the epidural. I felt so much pressure on myself, y'all. Like I had planned to have a natural birth. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I can do this. I'm gonna get through this. The pain of childbirth is, and not even the childbirth part, the laboring part is like, I can't even explain it. It is so intense. It is the greatest pain you will ever feel. And it is so consistent. And it was just so intense. And I really just, it was really hard for me to give myself enough grace and let myself off the hook. Cause I really decided like, I'm going to do this naturally. And so I think that was like the biggest thing, was like letting myself off the hook and saying, okay, I need this. By 10 a.m. on December 31st, I was freaking exhausted. Like I was, oof. And mind you, the day before, right, December 30th, I had woken up around maybe 9:30 a.m. So I had been up for a full 24 hours at this point, didn't get good sleep the night prior to that. And, you know, I'm dilating fast for being induced, but also like it's been hours and hours and hours, and I was exhausted. So I'm just thinking like, can I literally get through this next however long hours it takes and push out a baby? Like, am I gonna even have the energy to push my child out when the time to push comes? I think in my mind, I just had this immense guilt about doing an epidural. I had this vision of how, you know, strong I would feel when I did natural birth. When I had a natural birth. You know, luckily, so my cousin, my sister cousin, had told me several months prior, and, you know, she said to me, like, you know, natural birth is amazing. It is great. It's empowering, but no one is going to give you a medal if you birth naturally or if you take drugs. And no one is going to shame you if you give birth naturally or take drugs. And so she has 3 kids, and her first 2, she had epidurals with. Her last child, she went natural. You know, and so she had the experience of both. And it was just, I don't know, in that moment, what was empowering, right, for me was to remember like, no one's going to get mad at you. Like, your daughter isn't going to be upset at you later on in her life if she finds out you got an epidural, right? And that's actually what my doula said. She was like, she's not going to tell you, Mom, why'd you do that? Right? She's going to be like, okay, whatever. You know, my doula was just, when I was looking at her, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I really might need to take medicine. She was just like, you need to do what you need to do. You know, don't look at me. Don't ask me. Like, you know, do what you need to do. What happened was I was 7 centimeters dilated when they checked. I want to say maybe it was like 11 a.m. or 10 a.m., right? They checked. I was 7 centimeters dilated. I was so close. I was like, okay, we're, you know, and those last centimeters tend to go pretty quickly too. But quickly is all relative here, because a couple hours of, you know, contractions every minute. Anyways, I was like, okay, let me keep going. Like, I can do this. So they did checks every 2 hours on my cervix. And at 2 hours later, you know, I remember my doula was like, so where do you think you'll be at? And Eric was like, you know, I think you'll be at 9. And my doula said, I think you'll be at 9 too. And I was like, okay, maybe 8, you know, maybe we'll be at 8. And they checked and I was still at 7 centimeters, and I was crushed. I was really crushed. I was just like, I had been doing the circuit. I had been doing the pain. I was tired. I was exhausted. I wanted a nap so bad. You know, and at this point I was just like, you know what, like, I'm not going to have the birth I truly want, which was, you know, I had been manifesting a safe, healthy, euphoric, beautiful birthing experience for me and my daughter. And I just knew at this point, I was not going to be able to have that if I continued to go natural. Where we were at, they were also talking about, you know, you might need Pitocin. And somebody even mentioned cesarean. And that was something I really didn't want. Like, out of everything, you know, I was like, I want a vaginal birth. So, you know, I wasn't too worried that it would go that far, but at the same time, not even being mentioned, it was just like, okay, let me not push the envelope farther than I can go, right? I need to trust my body. I need to do what's best for me. And what was best for me in that time, I knew, you know, I think I went like half an hour longer, and I was just like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I need to get the medicine. I need to like get the people, like, let's do it. I called the nurse. I think my nurse had just gone on a break, and I called and I was like, I need epidural. I need an epidural now. And so they sent in, you know, a nurse that was taking over for her during that time, and she got me set up. Thankfully, the meds came maybe like 15 minutes later or so. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I was nervous about was staying still during a contraction, because my contractions were coming so consistently here that, you know, sometimes I might have a minute and a half of rest, and other times it was just back to back to back. And I was just like, what happens if they're trying to place that needle, you know, and I have a contraction? Like, am I going to be able to stay still and breathe through this, right? Order was put in. I got the epidural. I have never been more relieved in my life. I literally felt like I couldn't go through one more minute of contractions, but I did. I was able to get through it. I was able to breathe through it. There was some relief knowing that, you know, the pain was going to come to an end sooner rather than later. And, you know, my fiance, he just like, he stayed in the room with me. Only one support person can be in there at a time when you're getting the epidural placed. So my doula left the room, and my fiance I just gripped his hands. We held hands so tight, and he just like supported me. It's going to be okay, baby. You're doing great. You're doing amazing. You know, he was such an amazing support person during this whole process. At 1:15 p.m. on December 31st, I got the epidural. And I was just so relieved. When I got it, I was still able to feel my legs. Yes, everything was like numb from the waist down, but I was able to feel my legs. When the time came, I knew I'd be able to push her out, and that there wouldn't be pain. You know, I wouldn't be in such distressing pain and be overwhelmed with that. I could actually focus on my child being born, because I wanted the mirror, I wanted the whole 9 yards. Like, as the pain just subsided, I just felt more and more relief. Like, I was just happy. It was glorious. I hung out for a while. I was able to chat a little bit again. And then I took a nap, or 2 or 3. So you can't eat when you have an epidural. And so you can drink clear liquid. So I did have a little bit of coconut water. I had a good amount of water, and I had a little bit of coconut water as well, especially right before I pushed. I did end up getting a little bit of Pitocin, I think. I think I did like the smallest amount of Pitocin, just because when you do get an epidural, everything does slow down, right? And so often Pitocin is needed to like speed things back up. By 4:45 p.m., I was only 8 centimeters dilated, but I knew, that things might slow down a little bit. But between 4:45 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., 6:30, the doctor came in. I think it was right before they changed shifts, because I think they changed shifts at 7, right? And so at 6:30 p.m., the doctor comes in, the attending, or so I think she was attending actually, comes back to check my dilation. I was 10 centimeters and I was so excited.
So excited, baby.
I'm excited too. I'm just ready to get her out.
No one can beat Ailes. She's pretty great. I'm gonna cry again.
So, Dr. Is it Medation?
Yeah.
She wanted to know if you could see or feel any hair.
Oh, sure. Do you want to see it? Oh, I was gonna ask if you want a mirror. I'm sorry. I can try to see it through low enough that you can see hair. You got some sugar in?
Come on, we're pushing towards sushi now.
Or you're gonna use. If we put a spotlight on, we might be able to see that.
Can you see?
Do you see right? We're so close. I'm gonna go down. Right there. All this right here is hair. Can you see? Can you see? Yeah, you're so close. So, can you feel your contractions at all? Just the tightening?
I can feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the next tightening, I want you to use.
I was just so ecstatic to see the top of my daughter's head is right there. She's about to enter this world. This is it. Such a beautiful and literally euphoric experience. It was everything that I had manifested it to be. I started pushing at 6:36 p.m. and her head was out. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Her head was out. And then before I knew it, the doctor was literally pulling her out. And she was out and she was on my chest, and I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. You made it, sweetie. Oh.
You did so good. Oh, there it is.
You're so good, baby. Both of you.
You rocked it. So we had a baby girl at 1852. Thank you, baby. That was a bad thing.
Oh, sure.
After 26 hours of labor, my daughter, Aaliyah Janae Dejwalo, made her way into this world at 6:52 p.m. on December 31st. And she is an angel. I just love thinking about this now, actually, because her entering the world, it was beautiful, it was euphoric, and it was the labor, it was the delivery that I wanted, to be able to really be present with seeing her come into this world. I didn't know it then, but the reason why the doctor had pulled her out, like she did, was because my daughter had a shoulder dystocia. And this can actually be very an emergency situation, but the doctor was so skilled and just got her out with no complications. I was fine. My daughter was whole and healthy and great and good. And she was on my chest and, yeah. So my daughter, Aaliyah Janae, or baby AJ for short, Aaliyah is 10 weeks now, and she's just so special. She is bringing so much joy to my life, and I'm just so thankful that, the way that she came into this world safely and healthy. This is why manifestation is interesting, because although I had this picture of her birth, right? But everything I manifested actually did come true. Some of it didn't exactly, right? I didn't have a water birth. It wasn't a natural birth, but she was healthy. She was safe. It was a euphoric experience. It was everything that I wanted and more when it came down to having her here in my arms. So, just to note that manifestation, make sure that you are very specific, that you say what you want, but also leave room for the universe to deliver it how it needs to deliver. I do believe that certain things like her shoulder dystocia was very important for her to actually be delivered at the hospital, where the attending had, you know, was very knowledgeable about it and had delivered a baby like that a lot of times so that she could be safe, right? That's not seen as much for midwives. And so the midwives might not have known how to handle that situation and get her out without maybe breaking her shoulder or something crazy like that. At the end, we were both healthy, safe, and she was in my arms, and it was beautiful. I'm gonna bring her in a little bit, and you can see my beautiful baby girl. This is my girl. Hey, mamas. Say hello. This is Aaliyah Janae Deshwalo. She's a little chunk now. Aren't you a little chunky girl? Yes. Huh. Huh, my bro. Huh. Yes, she loves her hands. She loves you. Hello. Oh, we got a burp. Thank you so much for watching our birth story. It's your birth story. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. There's more mama videos. Oh, just get a little spit in my hair and that's all good. There's more mama videos to come, more about manifestation and spirituality and mental health. And so yeah, we'll be back soon. Say like and subscribe. Say like and subscribe.